Right now, somewhere in the world, a teenager is checking their phone for the 11th time in the last hour. Not because they're waiting for an emergency, not because they need information. They're checking to see if someone, anyone, liked what they posted 3 hours ago. And here's the part that should terrify you. They don't even know they're doing it. If I told you that a piece of glass and metal in your pocket has more control over your self-worth than your own mother, your own achievements, or your own reflection in the mirror, would you believe me? You should, because it's already happened. Somewhere between your first Facebook account and your last TikTok scroll, something quiet and violent took place. Your brain, the same brain that once found happiness in a sunset, a hug, a finished book, got rewired to chase something else entirely. Not joy, not connection, validation. And today we're going to take that apart, piece by piece. Not to make you feel guilty, not to tell you to just delete the apps, but to show you exactly what happened to your mind, why it's not your fault, and, by the end of this video, exactly how to take your sense of worth back from a screen that was never designed to give it to you honestly. If you've ever posted something and refreshed the page 30 seconds later, if you've ever felt a small, quiet disappointment when a photo didn't get enough likes, if you've ever compared your real, messy, ordinary life to someone else's highlight reel and felt smaller because of it, this video is about you. Stay until the end, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you look at that little red notification bubble forever. Let's start with an uncomfortable truth. Social media was never built to connect you with people. That's the story they sold you. The real product, the thing being engineered in boardrooms with psychologists and behavioral scientists on payroll, was your attention, and more specifically, your need for approval. In the early 2000s, a small feature was added to a social platform that seemed harmless. A little thumbs-up icon. A like button. It looked innocent. It looked like a simple way to say, I saw this and I appreciated it. But underneath that simple button was one of the most powerful psychological mechanisms ever built into a piece of software, the variable reward system. Here's what that means. Imagine a slot machine. You pull the lever, and sometimes you win, sometimes you don't. You never know when the win is coming. That unpredictability is exactly what makes gambling addictive. Not the reward itself, but the uncertainty of the reward. Now replace the slot machine lever with the post button. You share a photo. You don't know if it will get 5 likes or 500. You don't know if your ex will comment. You don't know if it will blow up or disappear into silence. That uncertainty triggers a flood of dopamine in your brain. Not when you get the likes, but in the anticipation of finding out. This is not an accident. This is not a side effect. This was engineered. Former Facebook executives, people who built these systems, have publicly admitted this. They've said, in plain words, that they built platforms designed to exploit a vulnerability in human psychology. Every time someone likes, comments, or shares your content, your brain releases a small hit of dopamine, the same neurochemical involved in the reward pathways activated by nicotine, sugar, and gambling. Let that sink in. The same brain chemical that fires when someone uses cocaine fires, at a smaller, but very real scale, when your Instagram post crosses 100 likes. You are not weak for feeling addicted to this. You were never meant to resist it easily. Billions of dollars and some of the smartest engineers and psychologists on the planet were paid specifically to make sure you couldn't. The mirror that lies. Here's where it gets even more dangerous. Humans are, by nature, social creatures. For hundreds of thousands of years, our survival depended on being accepted by our tribe. If the tribe rejected you, you didn't just feel sad. You could die. No protection, no food sharing, no safety in numbers. So evolution wired us with a deep, primal system that constantly asks one question. Am I accepted here? For most of human history, that question was answered by real people. Your family, your village, your close friends. People who saw your full, complicated, three-dimensional life. They saw you on your worst days and your best days, and their acceptance of you was earned through real experience. Now that ancient tribal acceptance system is being answered by strangers, algorithms, and curated photos. Your brain still asks the same primal question: am I accepted? But the answer now comes from a like count generated by people who know absolutely nothing about who you really are. This is the trap. Your prehistoric brain is trying to survive in a modern, artificial environment it was never built for. It's like using a smoke detector that goes off not just for fires, but for steam from your shower. The system is misfiring, and every misfire chips away at your sense of self. The comparison machine. There's a second layer to this trap, and it might be even more damaging than the like chasing itself. Comparison. Social psychologist Leon Festinger proposed something called social comparison theory, decades before Instagram even existed. His theory was simple. Humans determine their own social and personal worth based on how they stack up against others. It's a natural, even useful mechanism in small doses. It's how a person figures out if they're improving at a skill, or how a community holds itself to shared standards. But Festinger's theory was built on a world where you compared yourself to your actual neighbors, co-workers, and classmates, a small, realistic pool of people. Now you compare yourself to a curated, filtered, professionally lit, algorithmically selected slice of 7 billion people. You're not comparing your body to your neighbor's body anymore. You're comparing it to a fitness influencer with a personal trainer, a nutritionist, a photographer, and editing software. You're not comparing your finances to your coworkers. You're comparing them to a 22-year-old flexing a rented Lamborghini in a thumbnail. The comparison isn't just unfair. It's mathematically impossible to win, and your brain doesn't know the difference between impossible standard and normal person. It just registers, I am not enough. Study after study has linked heavy social media use to increased rates of anxiety, depression, body dysmorphia, and loneliness, especially in teenagers and young adults. Not because these apps make people evil or empty, but because they quietly, relentlessly, day after day, feed the brain a distorted mirror and ask it to believe what it sees. Let's get specific. Because social media is bad for you is something you've heard 1,000 times, and it's lost its power. What I want to show you is what this actually looks like in a real, ordinary life. Because I think you'll recognize yourself in at least one of these. The post and wait cycle. You take a photo. You spend 10 minutes picking the right filter, the right caption, the right time to post, because the algorithm apparently prefers 7 p.m. over 3 p.m. You hit post, and then the wait begins. You open the app again 2 minutes later. Nothing. 5 minutes later. A few likes. You feel a tiny flicker of relief. 20 minutes later, you check again. The number has slowed down. A small, strange disappointment creeps in, even though logically, nothing in your actual life has changed. Your job is the same. Your family is the same. Your health is the same. But your mood has shifted because a number on a screen didn't grow fast enough. This cycle can repeat itself dozens of times a day, for years, without a person ever consciously noticing it's happening. The deleted post. Maybe you've done this. You post something, and it doesn't perform the way you expected. Low likes, no comments, and within an hour, sometimes less, you quietly delete it. Not because the content changed, not because you changed your mind about sharing it, but because the silence felt like rejection, and you couldn't sit with that feeling. This is one of the clearest signs of validation addiction, when the value of your own thoughts, memories, and creativity is being decided entirely by an audience of strangers, rather than by you. The highlight reel trap. You know, logically, that people only post their best moments. You know the smiling beach photo doesn't show the argument that happened in the car 5 minutes before. You know the 6 a.m. gym selfie doesn't show the 3 months they skipped before that. You know this. And yet, knowing it doesn't stop the feeling, because your comparison isn't happening at the logical, conscious level of your brain. It's happening instantly, automatically in a part of your brain that reacts before you can reason with it. By the time your rational mind catches up and says this isn't a fair comparison, the emotional damage, the small hit to your self-esteem, has already landed. The ghost. Scroll. This one is quiet, but incredibly common. You open the app with no real purpose. You're not looking for anything specific. You just open it, almost like a reflex. The way you might tap your pocket to check your phone is there. 20 minutes disappear. You didn't laugh. You didn't feel connected to anyone. You didn't learn anything meaningful. You just scrolled. And when you finally look up, you feel strangely empty, sometimes worse than before you opened the app. This is what researchers call passive consumption, endlessly consuming content without any real interaction. And it has been linked, more strongly than almost any other online behavior, to increased feelings of loneliness and low mood. The identity performance. Perhaps the most dangerous version of this trap is when it stops being about single posts and starts being about your entire identity. You begin to unconsciously ask, before doing almost anything, would this be good content? A sunset isn't just a sunset anymore. It's a potential post. A meal isn't just a meal. It's a photo opportunity. A moment with your family isn't just lived. It's documented, edited, and released for approval. Slowly, without noticing, your life stops being something you experience for yourself and starts becoming a performance for an audience. And the terrifying part is, you can't actually see the audience. You don't know who's watching, who's judging, who even cares. You're performing for ghosts. I want to be very clear about something because I think this is where most people misunderstand validation addiction. This isn't a weakness of character. This isn't something that only happens to insecure people, or shallow people, or people with low self-esteem. This happens to CEOs, to therapists, to elite athletes, to genuinely confident, accomplished human beings. Why? Because it's not a flaw in you. It's a flaw in the design of the systems you're using. Think about it this way. If a casino is specifically engineered by expert psychologists to make you gamble longer than you intended, and you find yourself gambling longer than you intended, that's not proof that you're a weak-willed person. That's proof the casino worked exactly as designed. Social media platforms hire people with PhDs in behavioral psychology. They run thousands of experiments, A/B tests, on tiny design choices. The exact shade of red for a notification badge, the precise timing delay before showing you your like count, the specific order content appears in your feed. Every single one of these choices is tested against one metric. Does it keep you here longer? Does it make you check back sooner? Does it make you crave more? You are not fighting a fair fight. You are fighting an opponent with more data about your psychological patterns than your closest friends have. An opponent that learns every single day exactly what keeps you hooked, because it studies your behavior in real time and adjusts. So if you've struggled with this, if you've felt controlled by a phone, embarrassed by how often you check for likes, ashamed of comparing your life to strangers online, I need you to hear this clearly. This is not a personal failure. This is a design success, just not for you, for them. Understanding this is the first real step toward freedom, because you cannot fight an enemy you don't understand. And for years, most people have been blaming themselves for a battle that was rigged from the start. Let's talk honestly about what this actually cost you, because it's more than just wasted time. It steals your ability to be present. When part of your brain is constantly asking, how would this look online? You are never fully in your own life. You're always one step removed, narrating your own experience instead of living it. It steals your self-trust. When your sense of whether something is good or worth doing depends on an external number, you slowly lose the internal compass that used to tell you what you actually liked, believed, or valued. You stop trusting your own judgment because you've outsourced it to strangers. It steals real intimacy. Genuine closeness with another human being requires vulnerability, depth, and time. Things that don't translate well into a highlight reel. The more energy you spend curating an image for a wide, shallow audience, the less energy remains for the few deep relationships that could actually sustain you emotionally. It steals your resilience. When your mood rises and falls with likes and comments, you become emotionally fragile in a very specific way, dependent on an unpredictable external source for your sense of okayness. This is the exact opposite of emotional resilience, which comes from an internal, stable sense of self. And perhaps most quietly devastating, it steals your years. The average person spends years of their total lifetime on social media. Years. Time that could have gone into relationships, skills, health, creativity, rest, spent instead chasing a feeling that, by design, can never actually be satisfied. Because the moment you get enough likes on one post, the bar simply resets for the next one. There is no finish line. That's not an accident either. It's the entire business model. Now here's what you actually came for. Not more guilt, not just delete the apps and touch grass. Real, practical, psychology-based steps that actually work, because they address the root cause, not just the symptom. Step 1. Name it to tame it. The first step is simply noticing in real time when the validation-seeking behavior is happening. Psychologists call this name it to tame it. The simple act of consciously labeling an impulse reduces its power over you. Next time you catch yourself refreshing a post to check the likes, say, even just in your head, this is validation seeking. That tiny moment of awareness interrupts the automatic loop and gives your rational brain a chance to step back in. Step 2. Separate self-worth from metrics. This is the deepest shift, and it takes practice, not willpower. Your worth as a human being was never meant to be quantified. No number, not likes, not followers, not views, can capture the complexity of a person's character, kindness, growth, or value to the people who actually know them. A practical exercise. Write down 5 things about yourself that have absolutely nothing to do with anything you could post online. Not your appearance, not your achievements that others can see, but internal things. Your patience with your little sibling, your honesty when it's inconvenient, your ability to keep showing up even when you're tired. These are the things that actually make up your worth. None of them show up in a like count. Step 3. Redesign your environment, not just your willpower. Willpower is a weak, unreliable tool against systems engineered by professionals. Instead, change your environment so the temptation requires more effort to reach. Turn off non-essential notifications completely. Move social apps off your home screen into a folder on a different page. Use grayscale mode on your phone during certain hours. Color is part of what makes the apps addictive, and removing it dramatically reduces the pull. Set specific windows for checking social media. For example, 15 minutes at lunch, 15 minutes in the evening, rather than leaving it open all day as a constant background presence. These changes feel small, but they work because they reduce the number of times your brain gets triggered into the dopamine-seeking loop in the first place. Step 4. Replace. Don't just remove. Simply removing something that's meeting a psychological need, even an unhealthy one, creates a vacuum. That vacuum is often why people relapse into old habits within days of quitting social media. The need for connection, acknowledgement, and stimulation doesn't disappear just because you deleted an app. So replace it. If you're craving connection, call one real person for 10 minutes instead of scrolling. If you're craving acknowledgement, do one small thing well and privately note it to yourself, without needing anyone to see it. This rebuilds your internal validation system. If you're craving stimulation, choose something with a natural stopping point, like a short walk or a chapter of a book, rather than an infinite scroll designed to never end. Step 5. Practice being unseen. This might be the most powerful and most uncomfortable exercise of all. Do something meaningful, genuinely meaningful, and tell no one. Don't post it, don't mention it. Just let it exist only in your own memory. This single practice rebuilds the muscle that social media has weakened, the ability to feel satisfied by your own experience without needing it witnessed, validated, or approved by anyone else. The first few times you do this, it will feel strange, almost like the moment didn't fully happen because no one else saw it. That discomfort is the addiction talking. Push through it anyway. Over time, that discomfort fades, and something much more stable takes its place. Quiet, internal confidence that doesn't depend on anyone's permission. Step 6. Cure it ruthlessly. If you're going to stay on these platforms, and realistically most people will, for work, connection, or simple enjoyment, take control of what you consume. Unfollow accounts that consistently make you feel less than. Follow accounts that are honest about struggle, not just highlight reels. Your feed is not neutral. It is actively shaping your emotional baseline every single day. Curate it the way you'd curate the people you let into your actual home. You were never weak for feeling this way. Your brain was just reacting exactly how it was designed to. But understanding the trap isn't the same as staying in it. The people who seem most at peace today aren't the ones with the most followers. They're the ones who stopped asking an algorithm who they are. Your life already mattered before the first app was ever built. If this meant something to you, subscribe for more. I'll see you in the next one.